got a little package in the mail recently that has in it a few little tiny tap wrenches or tap handles. And I had a set of these already that I bought a few years ago from LittleMachineShop.com. They're available on the LMS website, and it's part number 3654, and they're about $13 as of December 2015. But I do a lot of work with small taps, and by small I mean smaller than a 440 or even down to a 080, and sometimes even a little smaller than that. But when you get down to taps in the size range below, say about 256, the taps become very fragile, or down below about 3 millimeters in the metric size range, and it becomes very easy to snap the end of the tap off in the work, which ruins the tap and often ruins the work itself. So it's never a good day when that happens. So let's talk a little bit today about some of the techniques we can apply using these little tap wrenches and another gadget that George Plesy has sent me. George is the developer of these, and this is a new product, I guess. I don't think it's available just yet, but it's a tiny little tapping block with a plastic insert that helps you guide the tap into the work. So let's look at these in action. To give you an idea of the size taps we're talking about, I've laid out some common taps here. And these are mostly SAE or inch type taps, starting with this one, which is a 1/4 20, then a 1032, an 832, a 632, a 440, and then over here these smaller taps are the ones that may be less familiar unless you've been working with some pretty small stuff, and these are the ones that are really where you need these lightweight small tap handles. This one is a 256, a 172, and a 080, or sometimes called an 080. Then this one here is a metric 2.5 millimeter, and then a metric 1.4. So you can see when you get down to these smaller ones here, the tips on them are really quite narrow in diameter, and that makes them very fragile and easy to break, and that's why having the proper tools makes a big difference. If you're working with taps in the size of 1032 or 832, a tap wrench like this one made by General works well. I've had this one since the 70s, but it's still available. It's a model, what is it, 161R, and it's a ratcheting type, which is real handy when you have to work sometimes in a confined space where you can't turn the handle all the way around. And the handle also slides side to side to give you clearance in those tight locations. But when you get down into smaller taps like a 440, this one here, you can see that the tap is very small relative to the size and particularly to the weight of the tap wrench. And if you attempt to use a very small tap like this in a wrench like this one here, the weight of the wrench alone can cause the tap to break off if it's not if force isn't applied very evenly. And combined with that, the mass of the tap wrench makes it very hard to get a good feel for how the tap is cutting, and because of that the tap can become jammed in the work and you may not be aware of it, and of course that can cause the tap to be snapped off, which creates a very unpleasant situation if you've ever been there. So for smaller size taps, I have a 440 here and a 256. A smaller tap wrench like this is a lot better to use. It gives you that better feel, and the lighter weight helps to reduce the chance of breakage. But if you get down even smaller size taps, such as this 172 or a 080 or a metric 2.5, even this little wrench starts to look kind of massive compared to the tip size on these little taps. And that's where these little aluminum tap wrenches come into real handy, and we'll take a look at how they work. So this blue-handled one here is a little bit larger of the two, and it is pretty good size to use with this 440 tap or 256 tap, and it's relatively lightweight, or very lightweight compared to the tap handle we were looking at a moment ago. So it even if you're tapping in a horizontal position where the weight of the tap handle is bearing on the tip of the tap itself, this is so lightweight that it's not likely to cause any problems. And also because it has so little mass comparatively, it gives you a very good feel for the cutting action of the tap in the hole. So if the tap starts to bind because chips are building up, you can feel that as feedback through your fingertips, and you know it's time to back the tap out and maybe add a little bit more cutting fluid. But as you get then again to the really small taps, like a 080, even this blue handle starts to look a little bit unwieldy, and that's where the little red one comes into play, and it's just about right for these really small taps. So we can choose a tap handle that's appropriately sized for the job that we're doing and avoid some of the heartache that comes with breaking a tap. As important as the appropriate tap handle is, it's really only half of the job, or half of the battle in a way. The other thing that can make a huge difference in doing good quality tapping on these really small jobs, and really on any size job, is a tapping guide. And of course what the tap guide does is it makes sure that the tap itself is square to the surface of the work that you're tapping. And this one is sized, this little tiny tapping block here is sized for the little tiny taps. So it's just what you need when you're tapping, for example, a 080 hole or a 172 hole or thread. And it also has some grooves in the side here, a V groove and a rounded groove, so you can place it over top, for example, of a piece of bar stock that has a pilot hole drilled into it, tap hole drilled into it, and position your tap on the bar stock, and it will maintain the right square position of the tap against the work, but it will also protect the tap from being twisted side to side or bent in such a way that might cause the tap tip to break off. So these are handy little gadgets to have, and I always use a tap guide just about for any tapping operation, unless I'm using the lathe or the mill itself to guide the tap. And this one also has a little soft plastic insert here. I'm not sure what the material is, but it adds a little bit of lubricating effect, I guess, to help the tap turn more easily. So that's, again, I'm not sure if these are available yet. This was sent to me by the guy who developed it, George Plesia, and I think these will be sold at some point by LittleMachineShop.com, but I'm not sure if they're yet available. So if you're interested, keep an eye out on the LMS website, and before too long they may show up there. So I hope that was interesting to you and you learned a few things, and have a good time with your tapping on these little tiny taps.